Hello everybody, we're going to start with a quick warm-up. You'll need some scrap paper or a whiteboard to do this work. Make sure you have what you need and go ahead and pause the video and get what you need. You're also going to need your math journal as well as your home links at the end of the video. But for now, all you need is some scrap paper or a whiteboard. Pause the video and go get your stuff. Today we're going to do some more practice on combining numbers to make them easy to solve when we're adding more than 2 digits. So we're going to look at number 1 first. And when I'm looking at number 1, I see 7, 7, and 3 in our circle. So if I want to combine those numbers, I want to look at which 2 numbers are easiest to add together. Quick in my mind, this is to help us improve our mental math and do our math faster. So 7 plus 7, not super easy to combine. They are doubles, but if I add 7 plus 7, I get 14, and then I have to figure out 14 plus 3 in order to find my answer. So that's kind of too difficult. So I'm not going to do it that way, and that's why we have to look at it again. So the best way to do it is to look for ways that numbers combine to make 10 or 20 or 30, depending on what numbers you have. So if I'm looking at these 2 numbers, I see that 7 and 3, and I know that 7 and 3 are going to make 10. So I know those are easy to combine in my head, and then I know that 10 plus 7, quick and easy to solve, is going to equal 17. So it's super simple to solve that quickly in my brain if I combine to make 10 first and then add the next number. So I want to try the next one. So looking at my 3 numbers, 4, 6, and 5, I'm looking for my missing sum, and I want to figure out which 2 numbers combine easily to make 10. Well, 6 and 5 don't make 10, but 4 and 6 do. So that makes 10 plus the 5. I've got to add that in still. Easy, simple solution. We know that 10 plus 5 is 15, so my answer is 15. Okay, let's look at the next set of numbers. Which 2 numbers here are going to combine to make 10? Well, 5 plus 5 make 10, so that's my answer there. Then I've got to add in my 6, and I get 16. 10, I have a 0 here, so 6 ones is going to quickly make 16. This is, again, a way for us to improve our mental math and do our math in our head faster. I have one more problem down at the bottom here. Let's see if I can show it. There we go. Oops, it got erased. Okay, so the 3 numbers in this problem are 6, 6, and 2. Now if I look at these 2 numbers, I cannot see a way to make 10. There's no 2 numbers here that make 10. So the best way to solve it is to then go back and look for my doubles. So 6 and 6 makes 12. Well, 2 plus 2 is 4 in the ones place. So if I add 2 to 12, I'm going to get 14. So using my doubles was the fastest way. This is using the doubles, whereas all these other ones we're combining to make 10. So we have 2 strategies. One is our double strategy, and the next is the other one is our make 10 strategy. So let's look at a couple more problems for 5, 6, 7, and 8. So here I'm looking again to see if I can find either doubles or any number that combines to make 10. Well, I see 8 and 2, and we all know from practicing all year long that 8 plus 2 is going to make 10. And if 8 plus 2 is 10, then 10 plus 9, simple. We have a 0 here in the ones place, so 10 plus 9 is going to equal 19. So my total is 19 is my answer. Okay, number 6. Let's see, do we have any numbers here that combine to make 10? No. And the reason why is because we actually started getting some bigger numbers here. So remember, our goal is to get a 0 in the ones place when we're doing mental math to make it a little bit faster. So I see here a 2 in the ones place here and an 8. Well, that tells me that this is going to be my combination I want to combine, because we know that 2 plus 8 is 10, and there's another 10 here. So that means that I have 20 now, because I've got 2 10s. And I can do 20 plus 3 pretty easily in my head, because there's still a 0 in that ones place. So 20 plus 3 is going to be 23. We have 2 more to go. Again, we're looking for either combinations to bring a 0 into the ones place and make 10s, or we're looking for doubles. So looking here, I see 4 plus 9 and 11. So I think the 2 easiest ones to combine are actually the 2 biggest numbers in this case, because this 9 and this 1 are going to combine to make a 10, and then I have one more 10. So if I have 2 10s, my answer is 20, plus that 4 is going to equal 24. Okay? And here is our last sample problem. 15 and 5 and 7 in my circle, looking for which numbers to combine. Well, 5 and 7 equal 12. And if I'm trying to add 12 to 15, I might come across some difficulty if I'm just trying to do it in my head really fast without having to add on paper. So instead of combining 5 and 7, I'm actually going to combine the first 2 numbers, because 5 and 5 are going to make 10, and then there's another 10 here that I have to remember. So 15 plus 5 is 20, and we know that from counting by fives for all that time that we've been practicing counting by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20. And then 20 plus 7 is pretty simple now, because I've got a 0 here, so my answer is 27. I know you guys hate it when I write my 2's that way, so let me try again. 27. So our answer for number 8 is 27. That is how we use number combinations, looking for easy numbers to combine to help us solve math problems in our head. Make sure you practice that in your math homework book. Have a great day. Okay, now's your chance to practice on your own. I have 4 circles on the board. You're going to look at the numbers and write your number sentences that make sense and combine the numbers to solve each problem. When you're done, take a picture to send me in my email. My email can be found on our class website, or show your family. Have a great day, and I will see you in a few minutes to work on our math journal. Pause the video so you can look at the screen and solve these 4 math problems. If you haven't finished, pause the video and finish your work before we continue. Okay, next we're going to be working in our math journal, volume 2. Make sure you have the correct book. We are going to open up to pages 173 and 172 and 173. And we're going to be working on solving the picture graph. So go ahead and make sure you have your math journal open to page 172 and 173. I'm only going to do a quick example from here because this is a skill we've already learned how to do. Just follow along, and then you're going to do the rest of the information on your own. Okay, everybody, the pages we're working on in our math journal today are just a review of picture graphs. We've done this before, so I'm not going to do very much of this page, but I am going to, just as a reminder, show you how to graph one of the astronauts in this problem. So let's go ahead and read it first. It says, an astronaut is a person who trained to fly into space. This table shows how many trips 4 American astronauts took into space. Use the information to draw a picture graph. So as you can see from the table, it has the astronauts' names across the top: Curtis Brown, Bonnie Dunbar, Jerry Ross, and James Weatherby. And then underneath it says the number of trips into space, and it shows a number of how many trips they took into space. Then you can see in the graph just below, it shows trips astronauts took into space. That's the title of the graph. And then it has these spaces for us to draw in. When we're doing a graph, we always start from the bottom of the graph to draw for a picture graph. We start at the bottom to draw our pictures. And then you can see the same names from the table up here are listed down here. And in this case, they're actually in the same order. So when we take our information, it's in the same order. But sometimes they're not in the same order. So you have to check and make sure that you're matching the names or the titles of the objects that you are graphing, or the people or the things that we're graphing. In this case, we are graphing the number of trips into space. And we're going to use circles to draw our picture graph. Each circle is going to represent one trip into space. So inside the boxes, we're not going to color them in because this is not a bar graph. Inside the boxes, we're going to use a circle to represent how many trips into space. So for Curtis Brown, if I look above, he has done 6 trips into space. So above his name, starting on the bottom row, I'm going to draw a circle for each of those trips into space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I want to go back and I want to check. Okay, it says he should have 6, and I count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I made sure that I did my picture graph correctly. Then the next step would be look at Bonnie Dunbar and how many trips into space is Bonnie done. So I see here she has done 5 trips into space. So above her name, I'm going to put 5 circles. 1, starting at the bottom, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the only 2 that I'm going to graph for now. Your next step after you finish graphing Jerry Ross and James Weatherby, those are your last 2 that you're going to graph on your own. Your next step is to look at the questions on page 173 and answer the questions. So number 1, it says how many trips in all, so we're looking for a total, did Bonnie Dunbar and James Weatherby take into space? And I'm going to underline those names. And just as a reminder for myself, I'm going to remember who I'm looking for. So in this case, I'm looking at Bonnie Dunbar and James Weatherby. So when I go back to my graph, I would look at Bonnie Dunbar. Bonnie Dunbar and James Weatherby to answer the first question. And I would look at our circles and figure out how many they made together. First, I'm going to write my number model. In this space, you need to write your number model. A number model, remember, is just a number sentence. So, for example, 3 plus 5 equals question mark. That's my number model. And then I'm going to use this empty space over here. If I need to, I can solve it, or I can just count it up and put my total here on the line. You're going to do the same thing for number 2, number 3, and number 4. It says use the information from the picture graph to write your own number story. So you're going to go back to this picture graph that you made, and you're going to find 2 other people to add or subtract or compare in some way in order to figure out what the difference is between their space travel or how much space travel they have total. So those are the 2 pages you need to do in your math journal. So today for your home links, you are going to be looking and doing some more practice of adding up multiple numbers. We are looking at some information gathered from a game of basketball and figuring out how many points each team earned and which team earned the most points. So what you would do is you would add these numbers up. Remember how we did at the beginning where we practiced finding the 2 easiest numbers to answer. In this case, it's 14 and 6, which makes 20, plus 15 is 35. And then we do the same thing for team B, and then we figure out who won, A or B. You're going to do that 4 times. You have 4 math problems to do for your homework. The unit that you're measuring is in points. That's going to be on page 193 of your home links, which is your math homework book. It's got pages already torn out of it, so it's pretty easy to identify. On the front, it says home links. It has a note up here to explain the homework to your family, and that's going to be your homework for today. If there are any questions about your homework, please feel free to send me a message. I will be on Zoom every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 4 p.m. for drop-in meetings. That's it for our math today. Let me know again if you need any help, and have a great afternoon. Don't forget to do your language arts.